Hey gang, how you doing? East Coast Lumberjack here. This week we're going to look at how to do the underhand chop, or basically chopping a log. I hear some guys call it splitting a log. You split a log this way. Okay, when it's laying this way, it's chopping a log. Now, I'm doing these videos because I was at the UMB Woodsman's competition a few weeks ago, and I've seen a lot of boo-boos. So I want to try to get, I've been meaning to do these for a while, and I want to try to give you some pointers on how to do these chops right. Basically the technique, okay, how to do the technique properly. And that's my goal. I come by this honestly. I cannot say that it's all from my head. I spent a lot of time in the 90s when I was competing as the provincial lumberjack champion here in New Brunswick, traveling around. I went to West Virginia and trained with Jamie Koger for a week. I competed with Paul Koger and Melvin Lentz. Then we flew out west of BC and chopped with the Bischoffs, Jack Brownjohn, Lee Black, Scott Lee at the time. So I've, and also when we first started competing in the Steel Timber Sports Series in 1994-95, there's a lot of good competitors there at that time. Mark Etcheberry, Melvin again, Jamie was there, Brad Turner, Matt Bush. There was a lot of great competitors, and obviously we also chat with, now that we've been taking people to the Worlds the last few years, you know, Jason Wynyard and the big guns, you know, Martin Comerick, God rest his soul, and some of the other guys over there. So seeing the Aussies and the Kiwis in person and chatting with them, because again, that's where the best choppers in the world come from. So a lot of this stuff originates from a lot of those guys. So, you know, it's not the East Coast Lumberjack that has all this expertise, but I will tell you what I've learned. So, underhand chop, because I'm not sure where I'm at on your screen there. I'm trying to do this landscape this time. Underhand chop, I want to tell you some critical things. And I know most people watching these videos, or a lot of people, are young college students. So you guys all have phones. So the best thing to do to check on your technique, because I showed you the standing block last week, I'm going to show you the underhand today. Video yourself and watch the video of you swinging. And then take some time to watch. I know if you go online, Dave Bolstead has got an instructional video. Steel Timber Sports do have some instructional videos. And watch them. Watch some of the greats in the business right now chopping. Okay, and watch how they do it. And you want to mimic people that are built similar to you. So if you're 140 pound, you know, 140 pound, 5'9", 5'10", you don't want to watch Braden Meyer and try to mimic his technique, because Braden Meyer's technique works because he's a big dude. And if you're not a big dude, watch people that are successful that are smaller. So if you're short and stocky and rugged, like Nate Hodges, watch what Nate Hodges does and what makes him successful. If you're long and lanky, watch guys like Jason Lentz, Matt Koger, the Cumberland Boys, guys like that are long and lanky and use that to their advantage. So you want to learn from people that are successful in your body size. If you're like me, you're 6 foot nothing and you're about 180 to 200 pounds. Watch guys like Ferry Svan and Sterling Hart, and watch guys that have used what they have to phenomenal ability. Okay, those guys are really, as far as I'm concerned, are the epitome of taking what you have and using it to the fullest extent to get the most out of it. Okay, so that's my advice on who to watch. Now, as far as the underhand chop, if you're a college competitor and you're doing quarter split, that's good. Splitting wood is an awesome exercise to get better at underhand chopping, because it forces you to line up and hit your mark with an overhead swing, and you want to drive through the wood. Now, a few things I didn't mention last week. If you're a competitor, you want to breathe, you want to exhale when you're swinging the axe. Okay, so you're exhaling as the axe hits the wood. Okay, one point I didn't mention last week. Same thing with the underhand. You should hear yourself breathing as you're swinging the axe. Might call in a deer here. I'm on the back 40. So that's the first thing. The second thing, your axe needs to be going its fastest when it hits the block. So don't do a big grunt, ugh, and then kind of let the axe hit the block. And I've seen a lot of students do that. Bring that axe down and be going the fastest, hit the hardest when you're hitting the block. Otherwise, all that effort is for naught. Now, the other thing you need to do in the underhand chop, you want to line up the center parts of your body. Okay, your groin, your nose, and your axe handle all need to be moving in the same plane all the time. Okay, if you're having a hard time hitting your marks over and over again, this is the key. Keep that axe straight up and down. So I always taught my students when they were swinging to do quarter split to keep the axe in the center of their body. Get used to swinging that way, and you get used of hitting the same place right down the middle of your body. It also helps with axe throw. So, one fundamental. The second thing you want to do is you want to square your shoulders and your feet. Okay, you want to turn your feet, and I'll get up here so you can see them. When I'm swinging on my power side, both feet are in the same angle as the axe blade is at that 45 degrees. And my shoulders are perpendicular to that 45 degrees, okay? So that way, everything's lined up. And if you line all this stuff up, you're going to hit your marks a lot easier. So the best way to hit your marks over and over again is to do these fundamental things. So turn your feet. When you swing to your chip side, and depending on which way you're strong, your feet turn. Both your feet turn. Don't leave one foot out, okay, and one foot in. If you're going to chop a block, move your feet so they're both pointed in the same direction and square your shoulders so the axe is moving straight up and down. Okay, straight up and down every time. All right? Next thing, you don't want to bring the axe too far up or too far back. Don't bring it behind your head, because then you're working to bring it to the horizontal and then, of course, to bring it down in. So your axe goes up in the air when you're swinging in the underhand. Up and in. All right, so up and in. So the next thing we want to talk about is how you snap your legs. You want to put this motion together. So square your feet to the 45 degrees, your shoulders, keep the axe in line with your nose and your middle portion of your body. The axe comes up, so you're sliding your hand out, bringing it up, throw the axe in the air, and then it comes out around and into the block. Now some guys will say to drive it straight in. Other people will tell you to arc it in. Again, whatever works best for you. I put a little bit of an arc in it, or quite a bit of an arc in it when I'm swinging. The next thing is when you're bringing it out, your knees come down and then they straighten as the axe is coming into the wood. Okay, so it's almost like you're kicking your butt out and driving the axe in. Okay, so we put it all together, you're going to breathe out. Okay, up, up. All right, so that's the swing. Get that swing down. The next thing we're going to chat about is your pattern. And we talked about this again last week. You basically want to do the same thing when you're opening your block. Your first two swings, and depending on how big the block is, if it's a big round block, a lot of competitors do the middle part of the block and then the upper part of the block, and then they swing over to do the upper part of the block, which will bring your top chip out first. You always want to go in that motion. If it's 8x8, which a lot of collegiate choppers do in the Maritimes, one on the top on this side, one on the top on this side to get that top chip out first. Okay, you want to do that because if you leave wood at the top, you're going to bust your handle, as we mentioned last week on the vertical. Okay, so if it's round wood, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you keep right on in that pattern the whole way around till you get almost to your center line, and then you're going to put your drivers in. And your drivers on your power side, so you're going to put a big power stroke in the top and a power stroke in the bottom. Now on bigger wood, and even all you college competitors, you want to do what we call a 1 and 1 before you turn. So when you go to do your drivers, you drive the top, and then you do a chip on the bottom, and then your driver on the bottom. It's called a 1 and 1 on the bottom. The most common mistake made when you're doing this, when guys are racing, when collegiate competitors are chopping, is you don't chop the bottom wood. Okay, so always do a 1 and 1 and reach down and make sure that that axe is cutting the bottom wood. Don't hang your axe out too far. Another common thing I saw college competitors doing, hanging their axe too far below the block. and actually hitting the gravel. You do want to hang the axe out of the wood a little bit, but you don't want to hang it out that far that you're actually damaging your axe. I cringed watching some of those axes go into the dirt. So do that. If you look, you'll see that most axes have a 7 to 8 inch bit on them. So that means on an 8x8 block, your axe face will cover almost that whole block. So you don't need to hang the axe. You can almost chop the whole way through an 8-inch block without actually doing the top and bottom or the near and far wood on it. But you do want to do it, and of course that tells you you can hang the axe a little bit, but I would only hang half the axe out of the wood, no more than that. Okay, so that's pretty much underhand chop in a nutshell. Okay, so you want to, just to go over it quickly, you want to breathe out as you're swinging. You want to turn your feet so that both toes are pointing in the same direction. Some guys chop on their heels, some people chop on their toes. Doesn't really matter, whatever you're most comfortable with, but you want to square your shoulders perpendicular to the motion of the axe. Exhale when you're swinging the axe, and snap your legs. Bring that axe hard into the block. Okay, after that, you just go through your pattern and drive it off. So that's underhand chopping in a nutshell, or what we call bucking a log, which was done by axes years and years ago. One other thing, no, we won't go there today. I'll say that for the next one. So as we're running out of daylight here on the East Coast, I just wanted to get an underhand chop in, show you the basics so people can practice this before the next show that's coming up next weekend. So underhand chop, you have any questions, go to my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of good videos there. Actually, if you're hanging axes, chopping, whatever you're doing there, go to the East Coast Lumberjack YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel, and you'll get a lot of tips there for what you guys are doing. East Coast Lumberjack signing off.